All right, well, we're going to get started. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I want to just take a moment before we actually get into our slide deck to just thank everyone for being on our second webinar / community conversation, where we're going to be talking about some of our back to school plans in the area of safety and operations. And we really appreciate you taking your time tonight to join us. I'm going to go over the agenda in a minute, but before I do that, I just want to do a couple of housekeeping housekeeping procedures. The first one is that this is being recorded, so we will be posting it on our website. And I did just want to touch base with some resources that are on our website from our last community conversation. If you go to fraser.k12.mi.us, and you can either click on our extended online learning tab or our Enroll Today tab, and you will see there is a whole section of information on return to school. So if you click on that return to school, you'll see some information on our last community conversation, along with information on our return to school task force. And I'm so proud and grateful of our 5 ad hoc committees that are made up of over 100 Fraser employee stakeholders who've been working all summer with the guidance from the state of Michigan to develop our plan for returning to school. And they have been doing a tremendous job in looking at these 5 areas: mental health and wellness, our curriculum, instruction and technology plan, and our district health and safety protocols. Again, this group is still putting together the final recommendations from our return to school plan. And tonight we're really going to just highlight some of the work they've been doing in that area of health and safety. So with that, I am going to do some introductions because we have some additional faces on the call tonight. And we have Kristen Ledford, who is the Director of Community Relations. Kristen, do you want to say hello?
Hello.
She's been doing a great job with our website. She put together also an FAQ page on the website, and that is going to be updated as well with more information. So if you looked on that web page to the left, there was more information about an FAQ. So we've been getting a lot of questions. That's a great place to start if you do have a question about our return to school plan. And as I like to say, the man of the hour will be Dan Waters, who is our Director of Operations, Transportation, and Maintenance.
Hello, Mrs. Ledford, everybody that's listening, thank you for having me.
Well, we are very excited to have you. Dan has been working tirelessly these past couple of months to help us prepare for the opening of school and getting us ready no matter what, whether we're virtual, hybrid, or face-to-face. We are preparing for all of those options, and Mr. Waters has done a tremendous job in getting us ready for all of those scenarios. So with that being said, I am going to go into presentation mode, and we're going to get started here. Before we go into our content, the way our agenda typically works is we will start out with just an overview of our webinar, and I've kind of taken care of that already. I'm also going to take a couple of minutes to give you a district overview of our current reality and talk a little bit about the roadmap we're using. Then we're really going to get into our safety and operations. We're going to spend some time going over our questions and answers that's come from our parent survey and questions that we've received from the community. The last piece will be just briefly talking about our next session, which will be session number 3 on August 19th, where we're really going to be providing more detail on Return to School 2020. And again, I can't thank you enough for your patience and just consideration of all of the hard work everyone has been doing here in Fraser to get ready for the fall and our return to school plan. And I'm always very proud to share with everyone in our community that we are a district that is proactive. We really take control of our destination, and we really are thoughtful about our next steps. And that could never be more true than what we've been doing over the summer with our committee work, with the stakeholders that we've been talking to. And next month, first week of August, which will be here in a few days, we will be sending out surveys to all of our parents and to our staff with some return to school questions. We feel we're at a pivotal point right now where we need to get your feedback and some feelings about your impressions on the fall. So those surveys will be coming out next week, and those will be open for that full week of August. I always like to start our conversations with the strategic plan. Even in times of crisis, this pandemic that we're in right now, I think it's very important that as a district, we stay committed to our goals and to our values. And our core value is to design learning for all students, no matter what the venue is or how we're delivering that instruction, and staying focused on our portrait of the graduate. And that work really has steered us throughout this pandemic and through all of the ups and downs that we've been given. And we focused on our teaching practices and those relationships that we've had with our students. And most importantly, we've really worked with our families and our community to keep those relationships that we know are so important to our students strong in a really difficult time when our learning environment has really dramatically changed. And that is just critical to us being successful. The second piece I'd like to talk about is what are those tools that we are really using to guide our work for the fall. Our committee members are all using the Return to School Roadmap, where we've been looking at a lot of public health issues and different stages of where we want to go with as far as getting ready to open, what you do once you actually open up, and then continuing that work. The second document is the My Safe Schools document. As everyone knows right now, we are still in stage 4, and that really puts us in with some challenges as far as opening up in the fall. So we are very closely watching that and paying very close attention to the recommendations that have been coming out from our governor. And then last but not least is the My Safe Schools plan. If you were at our last board meeting, our Board of Education spent a great deal of time studying this document, and their tireless efforts to keep us focused and staying on the right track when it comes to reopening our schools and getting us ready for the fall is led by the work of the Return to School Roadmap. And I just want to take a minute and give our Board of Education a shout out for the hard work that they put in on Monday, pouring through this document and really looking at every aspect and looking at the work that we're trying to do as a county to move us forward. So all 21 districts are working together to make sure we're doing what's best for our students as we think about our return to school in the fall. So again, I talked about this at my last meeting about the importance of this plan and why we have been studying it. And there are some important things to, again, remember in phase 4, and we're going to talk about this tonight. And again, we want to make sure everybody understands that there are some very different things that are being implemented in phase 4 versus phase 5. Face coverings are going to be required for all staff. And in our 6 through 12 classrooms, they are automatically required by the mandate. But the important thing to remember is in kindergarten through 5th grade, most of our students do move throughout the day. So they will be asked to wear a mask when they are moving throughout that building. And unless they stay with their cohort all day, they will be expected to wear a mask. And that is very clearly written in the My Safe Schools return plan. The other important piece is that masks are required on buses. And the buses, our only requirement right now is to wear that mask. So we're going to talk about some of those cleaning procedures that we've put in place to help with the buses. A few other things are the hygiene issues, which Mr. Waters is going to go through in detail with us all. And we're also going to talk about the spacing, movement, and access. We are under different regulations being in a school district, so the only thing we are required to do as far as spacing, movement, and access is make sure that we do not have any indoor assemblies. We will work hard, obviously, to space out our desks, but we know that 6 feet, which we hear quite a bit, cannot be really done in a school setting. So we'll talk a little bit more about that spacing, movement, and access piece, because we want to make sure everyone understands what those requirements look like. So in a minute, we're gonna start going through our FAQ and start taking those questions. But I go back to this, now more than ever, we need to continue to be a Fraser family, and we need to stay committed to our work as a community. And these are just a few pictures of some of our practices that have been going on this summer. We've been very fortunate to have band practice starting this week with social distancing, and we're very excited that that's been going well these past couple of days. We have some pictures of our graduation and our middle school lawn signs that I believe that, yes, that is from our Richards Middle School. We've had so many different lawn signs going out just to honor our students, that I wanted to share that with you because I think that is something that makes us a incredibly special school district. So again, thank you for all of your continued support and your patience. So with that, I'm going to get started with our questions and answers and an opportunity to share some information with Mr. Waters. So I'm going to first take a moment and ask Mr. Waters, can you talk us through a little bit how transportation is going to look different this fall?
I sure will. As we get into the slide, I wanted to point out again that I thought you had a very good point there. In the governor's safe return to school, as you said, their social distancing is not required on a bus or in a classroom. She did use some different terms in there, which is strongly recommended and recommended. And I was hoping that you could just take a quick second and update the listeners about what the county and the superintendents of Macomb County decided to do to stay as a county together.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Waters. That's a wonderful point. We worked very hard on Monday evening to review that entire document. All of the required aspects of the My Safe School plan is embedded into the work that we've done. We have to do that. That is required. There are some things that are what they call strongly recommended and recommended based upon your district's ability to implement those. So some of the items that were strongly recommended or recommended, we as a county were not able to do it just was not feasible for us to do some of those things. So we made those decisions as a group, and we looked at those items very carefully. Many of them we were able to keep, but there were some that we just were unable to keep. So when you see our transportation plan that Mr. Waters is going to explain to you, the key to understand is that we are able to still have a full busload of students riding the bus. And that's important to understand, that we are following the guidance from that return to school roadmap. And they have made some different considerations for school districts with regards to how transportation is going to look. So again, as we're talking through things, this may be some new information for you, but I want to make sure everyone understands that we looked at this as a county and we made those decisions as a collective group to be sure that we really thought about what we could feasibly do if we were to start school with 100% of our students coming on September 8th.
Correct. Thank you for that. So if we get into the slide here, you'll see transportation will look different as if we go back in phase 4. As you said, all students and the driver will be required to wear a face mask. When the students get on board at their bus stop, they will have to have their face mask on. We have installed hand sanitizer dispensers in all of our buses, and we have product in them as well. So the bus driver will also carry a box of face masks on board, because if a student shows up to the bus stop without a face mask, they have to have one on before they can get on. So as the students boards the bus, they will have to use a squirt of hand sanitizer. They will have to scan with their Synovia card onto the system, so we have record that they are on the bus. And then this year we will have assigned seating for our students. That way we know where the students are sitting at all times, and we can, hopefully that will help us control the students wearing their masks. We will also disinfect the bus after every run. That means in between our high school and middle school run, our middle school and elementary run, and in between all of our special ed runs. I believe the next slide will show us how we're going to do that. We have a short video. So the district has been working with the county. As Carrie said, the county has been very, very helpful to us, all of Macomb County school districts, in obtaining this PPE equipment. We as a district decided that it was very important after looking at the safe return to school, and the cleaning that needs to be completed and done. We thought that we needed some additional equipment to accomplish that. So what we have done is we bid out, and the board awarded purchase of a couple machines. This is the first one. It's a Victory handheld battery operated electrostatic sprayer. We've been in close contact with our Michigan State Police inspector, and making sure that we can carry these on board with us. The chemical we will use will be a Hilliard chemical that is produced by the company we buy all of our chemicals from through KSS, and that will go into the spray gun that you see there. And then between the runs, before and after, we will disinfect the buses. This machine electrically charges the chemical, which then causes it to stick to everything. So there's a short video here we'd like to play for you, and this will give you an example of how it works.
Start in front of the bus, giving special attention to high touch points, such as the gear shift and the door lever. Continue on the doors side, moving to the back of the bus. Spray from high to low. Move to the other side of the bus and repeat the process, working towards the front. When spraying with the electrostatic sprayer, the chemical solution is charged, turning all the liquid ions to positive. When sprayed, they will repel each other in the air and on surfaces. The result is full, complete coverage of an area. Because the particles of disinfection solution will spread out, it gives you the best chance of killing the germs, even in the nooks and crannies.
Our drivers will be required to wear the proper PPE as they disinfect the buses, as the governor states in her plan. And just so everybody knows, that has a kill factor of the virus and a dry rate anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes, is what they say. So that will be used, like I said, in between every run that we have, before and after, to ensure that we are sanitizing the bus before we pick up the next group of kids.
Thank you, Mr. Waters. So once our students arrive at school, we want to talk a little bit about the classroom cleaning procedures. We've had a lot of questions about that from families. So we're going to take a couple minutes and talk about how our daily cleaning will look differently. And I'm going to again turn it back over to Mr. Waters.
Thank you, Ms. Wozniak. I think it's important. We've been through a lot of training seminars, myself including all my head custodians, and I think it's important that we all realize very quickly that we will now be cleaning for health, not for appearance. And what we mean by that is often every night we would vacuum carpets, dust mop floors, do those kind of things. And of course that takes time. Unfortunately now with the virus, we have to spend a lot more time sanitizing. Our bathrooms always got sanitized every night. But in addition to that, now we have to do those highly touched surfaces, light switches, pencil sharpeners, countertops, those kind of things, faucets, drinking fountains. And in order to do that, that takes up time. So again, it's important to know that our priority now will be cleaning for health. As I said, we'll be sanitizing those highly touched surfaces. Bathrooms in phase 4 have to be sanitized every 4 hours. Our custodians will be doing that with our new machines that we will show you in the next slide that the district has purchased. We have a few of these machines already in the district, but we bought one for each school building. It's also a requirement in phase 4 that we need to sanitize the desks after every class period. And that's a very difficult task to do. So we've purchased spray bottles with triggers, which will come with the appropriate labels on them, with the appropriate chemicals on them. We have chemicals for our kindergarten through 3rd graders that are different from our 4th graders to 12th graders, just because of their age and the ability to ingest a chemical. If we had to eat or something like that in a classroom, we had to get a sanitizer for the younger kids that is ingestible, if so they did ingest it, it would not hurt them. So we did have to make a few changes to our chemicals that we use. We've worked with Scott Bland from KSS, our rep, and he has walked us and helped us through that. They have many school districts that they work with and are making these recommendations for these. So every classroom, as I said, has a spray bottle. Every teacher is going to get a face shield, a face mask, reusable rubber gloves that are washable, and also a box of paper towels that can be used to hit those high touched areas and also the desks as well. Go to the next slide real quick. This is, again, the school district had 2 of these machines we bought several years ago. These machines are, again, electrostatic spraying machines. They're manufactured by Clorox. They do an excellent job at sanitizing desks, classrooms, anything that this touches, it sanitizes. Unfortunately, 2 of them in our district was not enough to accomplish the requirements that are required in phase 4. So again, the district decided to bid out 9 additional machines. We received the bids, we took it to the board 2 meetings, actually last meeting, and the board approved their purchase. They are in the queue for delivery. We're hoping that we will get these before school starts. As you can imagine, there's a big backlog for these machines. It was very helpful. We actually let the Fraser Police Department use one of ours through this whole COVID season, and they were very impressed with what it did, so they bought one themselves. So this video here will show you how it works in a school setting, and you'll see that, again, electrically statically charged, so it actually grips to all surfaces on desks, and wherever it missed and hit it, it grabs.
The Clorox Total 360 system is a revolutionary way to reach and kill pathogens almost everywhere. It combines the superior surface coverage of proven technology with the proven effectiveness of Clorox disinfectants and sanitizers. First, the electrostatic sprayer system turns the liquid into small droplets. Then the sprayer applies a charge to each drop, so they are attracted to and adhere to surfaces with a force greater than gravity. The coverage is superior. It spreads over, under, and around surfaces. With Clorox Total 360 Disinfectant Cleaner in the system, you can kill MRSA, cold and flu viruses, norovirus, E. coli, and salmonella in places that could have been easily missed. The system gives you coverage far superior to conventional tools. With trigger sprayers, you might miss areas, and costly overspray is unavoidable. Foggers and misters don't provide uniform coverage. Our electrostatic spraying system provides some of the most advanced and comprehensive disinfecting and sanitizing available.
All right.
So the intent with those sprayers are we will use those halfway through the school day to disinfect all the bathrooms. Those are both the gang restrooms, the large restrooms in the hallways, and then also the individual classrooms in the actual bathrooms in the actual classrooms. We've had to use these machines throughout the last several years, and we can disinfect an entire room in about 3 to 5 minutes with this machine. So it is the intent at this point at the end of every day to take this machine and have someone go through every single room and disinfect that room prior to school starting the next day.
Thank you, Dan. And again, I think it's important to tell, to talk about and to share with everyone that this is the information for making sure we can implement those return to school plans. And we have talked a lot about what does, the fall look like for us. And we're trying to give you a picture of the cleaning potential that we have, even if we are in a hybrid model or we're only bringing in small groups of students. Whatever the ratio of students are to teacher in the building, this is the type of cleaning that we are going to be doing. And I think that's important to keep in mind, that we want to make sure we are meeting those return to school requirements and doing the proper cleaning for all of our classrooms, because we know that that's a priority and we want to make sure everyone understands that. So we're using the best technology and the best information that we have to keep our classrooms safe and clean. So I wanted to take some more questions that we're going to get. So we're going to pause for a minute because this talks a lot about what happens if there happens to be a confirmed COVID case in our schools. We've worked with our county health department, and that's very important to know that our health department has given this information to all of our districts in Macomb County. So if there is a confirmed COVID case in our district, that could be a parent, a teacher, a student, a staff member, an administrator. The way this works is we notify all staff and student families of any confirmed cases while maintaining that confidentiality. So we have, had cases of MRSA or other diseases where we have had to send a letter home and notify families of a confirmed case while maintaining that confidentiality. So I do want you to understand that there's that kind of first level where you send out the letter to the school. From that point on, it's a little bit different because we have to work with the county health department to identify and establish what close contact is considered. At our elementary schools, it would be all the students and staff in that classroom. At the middle and the high schools, it's anyone who has been 6 feet of a case for 15 minutes or longer. And that is how they're defining close contact. And it's important to know that anyone that was in close contact, they should be tested, and then they should remain quarantined at home for 14 days after the last contact with that confirmed case. And that is why working with the health department is going to be so important for our districts, because we want to make sure we're following those protocols. So once we've identified, a confirmed case, we work with our health department, and we're going to continue to make sure that we notify and we follow the proper protocols. We've been getting a lot of questions about how, we're not always, are we up to date on our air filters? Are we doing what we need to do to make sure our buildings aren't, spreading COVID-19? And I want to address that with Mr. Waters talking a little bit about our air filter systems in our schools, because we've made changes to adjust to these new regulations. So Mr. Waters, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
That's correct. Thank you, Ms. Wozniak. In our buildings, working with our vendor, we have upgraded all of our air filtration filters and all of our univents in the classrooms. Our rooftop units and also our air handling units have always been a MERV 13. Where we were falling short was in the classrooms with our unit vents. So this year, based on the CDC guidelines, we have purchased MERV 13 filters for the entire district. So that means all of our unit vents inside the classrooms, all of our rooftop units, and all of our air handling units will all have the upgraded MERV 13 filtration.
Thank you. So in addition to the things we've done in our classrooms, we've done some really specific things in our common areas. So I'm gonna let Mr. Waters talk a little bit more about what we've done in our common areas.
Yep, thank you. So in all of our buildings, we met with Barton Mallow, who is our construction manager under our current bond, and they have assisted us in getting quotes for this plexiglass barriers that you would typically see at any grocery store you go to, a home improvement store you go to, anywhere, bank, they have these. So what we have done is we've gone through all of our buildings, all of the school buildings, including Dooley, and we are installing these plexiglass barriers in our front offices. And these are not only in the front offices, but will be at every assistant principal office in the high school as well. Counseling offices in the middle school and in the high school. So any place that we could have a gathering of individuals, whether it be guests or kids, we will have a barrier between them in those offices.
And then through our committee work that we've been doing with our task force, all buildings will also have a designated isolation room for suspected cases. So that's important to note as well. I'm going to go to the next slide. So a lot of questions about masks, and I think this is really important to understand. And I talked a little bit about this before. All students have to wear a mask in hallways and in common areas. Grades 6 through 12 will have to wear a mask in classrooms. Grades K through 5 will have to wear masks in their classrooms unless they remain with their classroom cohort all day. And in our district, our students do switch classrooms, and they do go to other teachers' rooms. So if that's the case, everyone will need to wear a mask in the classroom. I think it's also important to know that our ISD is going to be providing our district with those masks. So we will have masks available for all students and all staff in the building to wear a mask. And once we get to phase 5, all students will have to wear a mask in the hallway and in those common areas, and all staff will still have to wear a mask as well once we get to phase 5. It's important to note that when we eat our meals, you can take the mask off, similar to what we do in the restaurants, but you do have to put that back on once you're done eating. And this question we get asked quite a bit about the lunchroom and how students are going to be able to eat in the lunchroom and be out loud outside for recess. Yes, students will be able to eat into the lunchroom. We are working on adjusting our lunch menu to be a grab and go style. So that should make it a little bit less challenging for students to be waiting in line to get food. We're also working with our building administrators to start staggering and spreading students out, to stagger and spread students out during lunch. They will be able to, and it seems my sentence got cut off, to eat in some alternative spaces. So we've been talking about how can we use some different spaces in the high school or in the middle school to spread students out more during lunch, because that is a real concern that families have brought to my attention. Again, students can go outside for recess. If more than one class is outside, it is required that students should wear a face covering. And again, that is in that return to school plan, that in phase 4, if more than one class is outside, students should wear facial coverings. And typically at our elementary schools, we do have more than one class outside at a time.
Carrie, I think it's important too to note that our food service workers will have on a mask and a face shield for their protection. We talked about gloves as well. Talked about possibly doing a prepaid type program, so there's no exchange of money, try to lessen the threat. And as you said, the grab and go lunches, again, just so we limit the interaction to try to keep people as healthy as we can.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you for that. And again, we know that there's still a lot of things to process through as we provide our stakeholders with this information. And we know that our staff and our committee members are working hard to process through what this is going to look like for all of us in the fall. So that's important to keep in mind. And again, our survey that we're going to be putting out next week will really help guide a lot of our decisions that we're going to make in our return to school opening. So one of the things I want to make sure everyone is clear about is we tried to provide right now that best information of what a scenario would look like when we come back to school. These are the cleaning protocols we have to follow. This is how transportation is required to look based upon the governor's executive order. And that is important for everyone to understand. How we implement, how many kids we bring back, those are going to be those decisions that we make as a district and as a Board of Education. So I'm going to now ask Kristen to start firing away some questions in the chat for Mr. Waters and I to respond to. And we'll do our best. If we don't know the answer, I will let you know. We will work hard to find it for you.
All right, most of the questions that we've been getting have been answered in the presentation already, but there are still a few other ones. So we'll start with the top. First, I want to say we got about 70 questions submitted ahead of time. So thank you to everybody who submitted their question and let us prepare and make sure that we had answers for those. What hand washing procedures will be in place for during the school day?
I'll start, and then do you want to talk about the hand washing we have?
Yep, I sure can.
Okay, so we will definitely be working with our staff to make sure we go over good hygiene with all of our students, and we're going to build time into the day to make sure students have the opportunity to go wash their hands in the bathroom. I know at the lower levels, the lower grades, just like the routines our teachers do a great job of building with lining up and going to the lunchroom, we need to reinforce hand washing and good hygiene.
In the district, since I've been here, we implemented it when I first actually started working in Fraser. We always have Symmetry hand soap available in the bathrooms. We also use Symmetry hand sanitizer, and we have always done that since I've been here. Like I said, we have those scattered throughout all of our buildings, all of the hallways. We strategically put those in places close to the cafeteria. I've asked all my today to take the dispenser and put it in the main vestibule of every single building. So as families come in, again, these will be emergency situations. We're not going to be able to drop lunches off to our kids anymore, or those kind of things. If there's a medication or something like that that we need to get to our students, by all means, we'll make sure that we get that. But for those instances, we are going to install the hand sanitizer in the vestibule so our guests can use it right as they come in. As we said earlier, we put them on all of our buses. So now they're part of that process as well. Our custodians manage that soap and hand sanitizer on a daily basis to make sure that they're full and that we have product in the dispensers for all of our students and staff to use at all times.
All right, thank you very much. The next question we got is, how will students social distance at lockers or in the elementary schools at where they hang up their backpacks at the coat hooks?
Yeah, that's a good point. We're going to do our best to, have students follow signage that we're purchasing, showing kids how far, 6 feet, just like they do at the grocery store. We'll work hard on coming up with procedures so students are not all going to the coat rack at the same time. There is a lot of, I like to use the term, practicing that we're going to have to do to get ready for that, and be really mindful that that's going to take time for our students to become comfortable with that social distancing that we're asking them to practice. And I think it's really important that we start with the why with our students, just like we start with the why with adults. We want to make sure that they understand we're doing this for their safety, and that we want to make sure that everyone stays safe and healthy. But just like anything, they're young children, and they're going to want to hug their friends, and those are going to be tough conversations to have. I'm sure they're tough conversations for our families to have right now when they maybe haven't been able to see their friends for a couple of months, or when they do get to see them, they're in this socially distanced setting. So we will do our best to make sure we explain that why to them, and they understand the importance of wearing their mask and wearing it properly. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
One more thing on the a requirement that they're asking is they would prefer that students' belongings in their cubbies or in the coat room do not touch. With our new coat system that we installed a couple years ago, the students' belongings have the ability to touch each other. So we have gone out and ordered, actually as of today, I've ordered plastic bags that they could bag their items like we would, similar to a a life type breakout or something like that. So people are familiar with it. But we have plastic bags going to every elementary school so that the belongings of the kids will not touch each other during this time.
The next question is about our band programs, and how will students be able to wear their masks and play an instrument?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Right now, we started band camp, and right now we're having band outside, and they're playing their instruments outside. We are going to continue that practice if we come back with a full group of, students and they're practicing, it will be done outside as of now. We're really trying to leverage the good weather and, keep that type of practicing outside, just like we are with our sports.
An additional note on that too as well, Ms. Wozniak. I asked Mr. Hogan, who is our head custodian at the high school, he has dispensed and mixed up a couple spray bottles of sanitizer for Mr. Rogers and the band kids to use during band camp currently. So he delivered those to them so they can, practice using that and try to keep everything sanitized the best they can.
Several of the questions that we've gotten tonight are about the Dooley Center. Are the programs there still going to be happening, the preschool and the childcare? And if they are, will they be following the same safety protocols as the elementary schools?
Yeah, they definitely will be following the same safety protocols with cleaning and the safety protocols that we've put in place. Our top priority right now, obviously, is to make sure everyone is safe and following the protocols that are being put out by the governor. We want to get those programs running. They may not start up. We're looking at maybe a slower start for some of those programs. That has not been decided yet, though. We're still working through the details of that. A lot of that will be based upon the feedback that we get from our families in the survey we're going to be sending out.
Let's see. How will mask wearing be enforced on the buses and in the classrooms? Will that be up to the teacher or the bus driver?
That's a really interesting question. We just got guidance from MASA, our association, and they are being very clear about the mask wearing, that if you do not wear the mask, they are not going to let students attend school. I mean, it was pretty direct language that we heard about that parents would be notified, and if they're uncomfortable with that, they should choose a virtual option for their child. So we aren't going to be, we want to make sure it's about the why and that we're following the protocols that are out there. You don't want it to become a confrontational situation, but those, I'm sure, are going to be some difficult conversations I'm going to have, and we're going to do our best to explain the why and work with our students to make sure they understand how to wear them. It's hard, I would imagine, for a young child who's in second grade. Their mask might slip off, and we're going to work to make sure we have places for them to take a break if they need to take a break, just like we would with any other student. But we know that it's a big ask for some of our young children, and we want to make sure we do everything to help them understand the why and give them some routines to make sure they're able to be successful with wearing a mask.
This next question is probably for Mr. Waters mostly. Are there any negative side effects to the chemicals that we'll be using to sanitize the classrooms and the buses? And will a list of what those products' names are be available to parents?
Absolutely. I can say that in the smaller classrooms that we are using, it's a Hilliard number 25 sanitizer. In our older classrooms, it's a Hilliard number 19 disinfectant. And then on the bus, I'm sorry?
Older grades, not an older classroom, you mean?
Older grades, that's correct. Yes. And then on our buses, it's a chemical called CT3. We have all the MSDS sheets, which are the safety data sheets. We have them at every school and at every building, meaning transportation. We've talked at great length with KSS and made sure that the products that they recommended and the products we're using are safe for the appropriate grade levels, and they assured us they are. So we are moving forward using those chemicals.
And kind of branching off of those cleaners, have they specifically been tested on COVID-19 that you know of? Or how can you be sure that they're effective?
There is a kill rate that Hilliard has. I don't have it off the top of my head right now, but yes, according to Mr. Bland from KSS, it's within minutes that it kills that virus.
Okay. As far as cleaning the classrooms between classes, who will do that? Does the district plan on hiring more custodians to do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I saw that one in the chat earlier. Right now, we're gonna do our best with the staff that we have and see how things work out. We are gonna have to come up with a strategy because we know there's only 6 minutes in between passing in high school classrooms. So we have to really look at how we can make that work and how we can, to get our classrooms cleaned. We know that our teachers need to have their lunch time, so that's very important. That they aren't, you know, cleaning during their time that they need their prep hour, they need their time to eat their lunch and get a break and have that time that they're required by their contract. So we're aware of all of that, and those are important conversations that our task force is having right now, and that we're having with the teachers union, because I understand that that is a concern, and that's a real concern that we want to make sure we address and we deal with accordingly.
With regards to the Clorox 360 machines, what if they are not available and the additional machines that we've ordered are not in by the first day of school?
Those tasks would have to be done by hand for that period of time. KSS also does have some loaner units as far as equipment. Again, I don't know if they'd be available, but even on the buses, our backup plan, if the machines don't come in right away, is to use spray bottles and a throwaway towel to disinfect until those machines come in.
All right. We did get a lot of questions about if there is a confirmed case of COVID-19 in one of our classrooms. Will the other students that are in that classroom that are required to do the 14-day quarantine, will they be able to do a virtual program for those 14 days so they don't fall behind?
Yeah, yep. That's a great question. Yes, that's the plan, that we would pivot that classroom to our virtual learning. And the I think strength of our district is that our grade levels and our content area teachers do a great job of staying on the same page with instructional practices. So we will have our virtual program parallel to the program that a student would be getting in the face-to-face environment, and we could then start to deliver that instruction with a Fraser teacher to that classroom.
And related to that, if a school starts seeing multiple positive cases, at what point would the entire school be moved to a virtual program? And would that be a Fraser decision, or would that be a county level decision?
We would work in conjunction with the health department. I've had a lot of conversations with the health department over the past couple of weeks. We've been very fortunate that our county superintendent's group meets approximately once to twice a week, and we've been meeting with Dr. Lokar from the health department, and he's done a wonderful job of really giving us some very strong parameters to follow, almost like a flow chart of what we would need to do. And that would be a decision that a district would make, any district in our county, with the support of our health department.
All right. I know that you said that there would be plexiglass barriers installed in the main offices and the counseling offices, but what about the media centers? Will they have a similar barrier?
At this point, we have not measured for that barrier.
Okay. Are face shields acceptable as an alternative to a face mask?
We've been getting some conflicting information on that, and today we've actually reached out to MASA. They provided us with some information on that, and the CDC has not said that that is an acceptable alternative. So what we're looking to do is have face shields in addition to the clear mask, where you could wear both of those. You've probably seen the clear portion of the mask with the face shield as an option. Another piece that, and I'll let Mr. Waters talk about that, is for speech services, kind of a barrier that we're looking to put between the student and the teacher, and I'll let you talk about that.
Yep, as Ms. Wozniak has said, we've spent a lot of time, and the county has been very helpful. We are picking up tomorrow at 11 o'clock 229,500 face masks for our district to use from the county. But we've also looked at youth face masks. We've looked at, as she said, face shields. Looked at clear face masks for our special ed students that need to see a mouth and how it moves and how it's articulated. We've looked at face shields with a mesh enclosure. So at the bottom of the shield, it's a mesh enclosure that goes around their ears. So it encloses that. So it's almost like a mask to try to keep particulate from flying around the sides and under the bottom. So we've really been exploring different pieces of equipment we can use to best support our learners and our staff.
We've had several questions about latchkey and how will that work at the elementary level?
Yeah, that is an extremely important service that we provide our families, and we are going to continue to provide that service. And if we were to go to phase 3, which is where we would be, completely virtual, we would look to scale that up. We've already put some strategies in place. Our committees are talking about that. We will be providing the same cleaning procedures that we provide in our regular classrooms with our latchkey staff. We would also be looking to be very mindful of the size of those latchkey groups, and we're looking to consider keeping some of those classrooms, I want to say use the term pods, or the same group of students together. That is another suggestion that we've had, and we're also getting more of our space certified for latchkey, so we can space those students out more in the evening. But we know that that is an incredibly important service to our families, and right now it is our intention to keep those services, if not scale them up.
One of the questions that we've gotten from several parents is about school supplies at the elementary level. In the past, they're typically products that can be shared by a whole class. This year, will they be will they stay with the students to limit the spread of germs?
Yeah, they will. Again, it's unfortunate, that community feel that you have in our classrooms is special, and it's going to be different. It's going to be different no matter how we come back. If we're hybrid on a staggered schedule, if we are virtual, if we're back with 100% of our students, it's going to look different, and that's hard. That's really hard, and I understand that. We all understand that, and we realize that this is a challenging time for everyone. So when you start to think about school supplies and getting ready to come back to school, things are going to be different, because you're going to have your kids' supplies that are going to be, kept in a, probably a separate container that, those are the only scissors they're going to use, or crayons that they're going to use. And that is a different way of thinking about starting off the school year. And I understand that.
Are there any plans right now to have a temperature check as every student enters the building?
That is something that has been discussed. We've done it at our camps and as part of the MHSAA rules right now. So that is something we've been looking at. There's two sides to that, idea. I hate to say, some people do like the self-monitoring, where right now that's what we're doing with our employees. You check your temperature, you do a self-assessment before you come to work. A lot of businesses are doing that. A lot of people want that temperature check right at the door. We have learned, and you probably know this as well, if you're asymptomatic, you may not even have the temperature check. So it does not, it provides some security, but it does not provide you with a full level of protection that you might think it's going to give you. So it's something we've definitely been talking about, but it has not been decided upon yet.
And will students be allowed to bring their own or wear their own masks from home?
Yes, we encourage students to bring their own masks from home, especially if it's something they're comfortable wearing. I think that's important. So yes, students are definitely able, staff can bring their own masks. We will be providing everyone with a mask, but you are more than welcome to bring your own mask.
All right. That is most of the questions about the safety protocols. We did get a couple about just the virtual program and how that is going to work. But that's probably all we've gotten so far on the safety protocols for tonight.
Do you think I could answer those questions or help with some clarifying?
For the virtual, a lot of the questions are about switching back and forth. So yes, there is an opportunity to switch if you choose virtual.
Yeah, there's definitely that opportunity to go back second semester. I think it's important too to know that we are, you don't have to make that choice until the end of the month. believe it's the 27th, Ms. Ledford. Am I correct on that?
I think it's the 26th.
26th. I apologize. I know
It's a Wednesday.
that Wednesday. It's the last week of the month. So you will have a very full understanding of what the fall is going to look like, whether it be a blended model or, completely virtual or a hybrid or full face-to-face by that time. So we want to make sure the choice you make for you and your family, you have all of the information. And I think that's really important. I know it's, a difficult time for everyone because you're trying to make plans and you're trying to build your plans for September. And again, we're really watching the science and the status of the COVID-19 cases. So all of those pieces and what the governor comes out with influences how we start the fall. So those are factors that we are monitoring incredibly closely, and we have plans for all of those scenarios. So whatever the case may be, we want to make sure our families, our students, and our staff know we're prepared for all of those situations. And we're doing everything in our power to make sure we are ready with the cleaning and the safety protocols and the masks and having that equipment. But we're also preparing and we're ready to go with our online learning and our virtual programming and our technology. Those pieces are in place. So every detail is being looked at right now, and we're trying to be really thoughtful about the choices we make. And I hope everyone can see that we try to be really transparent, and we want to listen to what our stakeholders have to say. So that survey that will be coming out for families the week of the 3rd is very important. Well, like I said, the survey will go out to staff. It will be a little bit different, but to our stakeholders, we want to make sure you give us that feedback because that's another important piece in making those decisions for the fall. Okay. I just want to take a moment and thank Mr. Waters for being here tonight and for your just dedication and service to the district. I can't say enough wonderful things about Mr. Waters. He goes above and beyond each and every day, and his team, the whole team that works with O&M and transportation is absolutely remarkable. They've been working incredibly hard through the entire pandemic. They're there every day right now, and they are doing whatever it takes to get our schools ready for the fall and for all the summer programming that goes on. So on behalf of our team and the Board of Education, I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Ledford, thank you for all that you do and keeping our website and all that information going for us. And again, I appreciate everyone's time here tonight, and I look forward to seeing you again on August 19th.
19th, yep.
In my head here, August 19th. And again, feel free to reach out to us or anyone on the team if you have questions or concerns. We're in, and we're here to help you out in any way we can.